on to what Angela was saying. I think the chief is going to inform us, just kind of give a general overview of the courts and things that are going on, and certainly we'll take questions on that. As I was talking with him earlier, I think I get a lot of questions from constituents about how courts work actually and what's going on. And we, to Angela's point, we've done a lot of good things over the last number of years. And so I think the spotlight is on. So appreciate him taking the time to do this. So, and thank the members for coming today.
Chief Justice, if you will, we're ready. And welcome.
Well, Mr. Chairman and Madam Chairman, I thank you for giving us the opportunity to appear before this joint committee. And I think it's very important, and some of y'all are going to laugh about what I'm getting ready to say, but it had a real impact on me about intervention courts. And last year I received a phone call from a member of the legislature. I won't mention which house, and that particular member asked me, one of my co-members wanted me to say something to you about trying to help a relative get in the intervention system. What does he need to do? And I realized that there was a misunderstanding about what intervention courts do and don't do. But keep in mind, I laughingly told him to tell him to commit a felony, because that's how you get into a felony drug court. You start out having committed a crime. But some individuals did not appreciate that the intervention court that's what it does. It deals with criminals and not just trying to help people out. Now, fortunately, legislature has seen it. Well, first of all, the next thing I want to say is thank you to each and every one of y'all, because last year you all gave us sufficient funding, and it was most appreciated to allow us to do the things you'd like for us to do. So you have to be commended on that. There's no question about it. But the other thing is, what's before you is a little handout called Money Matters. Years ago, I think it was Chairman Reed who told me I needed to encapsulate how the money thing worked in this deal, and to point out what it does and what it doesn't do. And this document was started a year or two ago, and it is brought up to date. If I recall right, and I'm not looking at it right now, but it includes statistics through November of last year. And but the first thing I want you to look at on that is that intervention court that you all created by statute and have expanded from drug to veterans to mental health now, and we'll talk about that in a minute, has saved this state in excess of $1 billion. This is the most efficient operation in state government, bar none. There's another one who produces like the intervention courts does in savings. When you look at this sheet, what you're going to see the cost to have someone incarcerated is about $18,500 a year. Drug court maybe $1,250. You can do the math, or we've done it for you here. When I started preparing this, I realized it was more than just money matters, but the human element, the individuals are involved in this. So we can't allow intervention courts to be the legislature versus the court and all that. This is about people. That's all it is. It's about people, the individuals whose lives are changed as a result of going through intervention in their life and get off of the drugs or alcohol, whatever the problems are, and living a productive life. But the money matters thing. The next important thing that I would mention, if you look in the blue banner on the left of that, what you will see, a person who is a graduate of a drug court, recidivism rate is less than 3%. Only 3% of the graduates of drug courts get in trouble with the law again. The recidivism rate, if they go to Parchment, is about 35%. 10 times. So we create productive citizens and the judges and the staff throughout the state that do this job should be commended. But the other thing is the human element. I don't know, some of y'all have attended perhaps a drug court graduation. We're going on a short clip just to show you the personal side of the drug court. And this is a clip that was taken at the last drug court that I attended and spoke to and addressed. And this is one of the drug court participants, which we believe will give you a real idea about what happens in a drug court. So if you'll run.
As we're advised to encourage our recidivists to stand strong and make decisions that aren't easy to make in their life, especially as a family. I could go on and on. I'll stop before I start crying at the beginning. Please help me welcome Tiffany Foxina.
I love the drug court program, and I truly believe that God put me on the drug court program because He knew that I had the desire to get clean, but I had the desire to use drugs more. And when I got on the drug court program, I didn't think that I was going to be able to do it. Like that's what I said, I struggled a lot. I was trying to find ways around it. I didn't think it was for me. I didn't think I could do it. They didn't send me to prison, you know. They sent me to rehab, which was the best thing they could have done. And the day right before I went to rehab, I went home and I told my husband, I said, we gotta go to Mexico. Drug court's gonna have to come find me.
And we would have.
Eventually. But when you're in active addiction, you don't think right. You don't think. So I thought it was a good plan. My husband turned around and he said, if you love these kids and you love me, you will go to rehab. You either choose me or the drugs. So I made my choice that day to be fully dedicated to drug court. Fully do what I need to do. And let me tell you, when I went to rehab, I learned how to live. I had to live in my shed. I had to barely survive. And just going to rehab, learning how to make your bed, how to cook, how to take baths every day. I learned so much in 6 months of rehab. Just to wake up at 8 a.m. and go to work every day. These are basic life skills most people know. I got to learn that, So I really thank Ms. Foley for sending me to rehab, for sending me to jail, because it gave me enough clean time to actually get my head straight so I knew what to do. I wasn't in my right mind. I knew in my heart I wanted to get clean because even though I was failing drug tests, I still showed up. Even though I went to orientation high, I showed up. I got 2 vehicles. I got a loving husband. I couldn't be happier. I thought I needed drugs to be happy at home. I didn't need drugs to be happy. I thought I needed drugs to be somebody. When I was in active addiction, I was a nobody. I felt like nobody. I had nothing. I had no need to text her. After I graduated. And Miss Smith, she got me on my fourth step. And I gotta say, I did my fourth step. And I did with her and I read on it. There's just so much stuff that I had locked up in my mind that I didn't realize I needed to get out there. You know, and I need to forgive people. The 4 steps really important for anybody in recovery. It really is, because we got a lot of mistakes, regrets, you know, a whole bunch of stuff we really need to dig up and get out before you can actually recover. And one of those things, I mean, has to do with my family. I love my family. I really do. And I can't walk in today. But anyway, I'm so thankful for this day. Like I've been waiting 3 years, 6 months on some of the days. But I made it. I'm so blessed for every one of y'all.
I was just making some notes as I was looking at that. Realized that she didn't use the first note because it all comes from here. It all comes from the heart. And I was telling one of the members earlier when I got here today, when I become chief, which is now almost 4 years ago, I didn't know much about drug court. It's on my mind now. It's grown on me because in the back of that sheet, sort of covers the human element. One of the big factors in the bottom is drug-free babies. See, if one of these people is born, or a child's born, whose parent is addicted, it costs a lot of money. You have to show you that at the bottom of the sheet, how much money it costs for these children to have to receive special care. So, fortunately, she didn't go to Mexico, and she stayed. And that's the other things we see on this human element is basically a drug court is, for practical purposes, about a 4-year program. Some people it takes 3, some it takes 4, but they have to meet with the judge once a week. It's about accountability. They have to meet with the judge once a week. They get drug tested twice a week. They pay for the drug test. They have to be employed. And I noticed on the back of the 9,000-something graduates, you'll see 6,000, 7,000 have jobs, pay their taxes, become productive citizens. And what employer would not want to be able to use people that are in drug courts, done with the supervision of the court? If they don't show up for work, they go to jail. They go to partial. That's what happens to them. So it's a pretty good incentive for them to show up to work every day. And if you've had someone, if you had a business, or know people that you work with, that wants to know what is the state doing for me, we are turning these people into productive citizens. So that's the big picture. Take time to read this. It is the most efficient program in government. If there's a better one, I want to see it. But I'll go. If there's any questions, I'll answer any questions that anyone might have.
We do have several questions I see from members of the Joint Committee. The gentleman from Adams, Representative Johnson, is recognized.
Thank you, Chief Justice. It's a great presentation. The information is extremely valuable. I just got a question. I see on this list of successful programs, the felony drug, misdemeanor, juvenile, family, but I was made aware of the lady from Hines who was the primary author and convener of this idea. Representative Clark got a letter saying that the misdemeanor intervention courts, by recommendation of the Administrative Office of Courts, was being discontinued. Can you tell us why? And making you aware that we've introduced a bill to prohibit that from happening because of the success of the program.
Well, the program is successful because of the accountability issue and the time issue. Before I was chief, before Van Holmes was director, before Brad was director, the committee, statewide committees, made up of judges and people from all walks of life, had passed a resolution that misdemeanor courts did not work well in this state, and suggested that they be ended. The first misdemeanor court that I got really involved in was up in North Mississippi. It got a federal grant, I forget, I think $750,000 or something. It said that the court had approved them and all that. The first year, that was a veterans court. First year they had 4 people. The second year they had 2. By the time I got involved in it, they had 0, but it was getting $750,000. I got very concerned that intervention courts were too important for this state to get a black eye from any small court, because people don't read in the circuit court or chancery court. All they say is court scanning. And when I got involved in that and realized that the program takes 3 to 4 years, and I see Jennifer said here, I've been up and spoke up to their drug court. I'm telling you, cannot turn a person around. But from a constitutional standpoint, there is no authority for a municipal judge or a misdemeanor court judge to maintain authority over a person over 4 years. It just doesn't exist. And so you've got to have a hammer to make this thing work. But it's got to be constitutional for it to work. And so taking all these things together, that decision was made, I think, last summer. Now, I understand that just recently that Alice had put something up about it. But no one, when the letter went out last, I think it was July or August, no one came to the court and said why. Nobody asked why, and I will encourage all of y'all, I'm glad you brought it up, because if there is legislation that deals with any kind of court, then look, my office is open all the time. Chairman Cochran will tell you the first conversation we ever had, she called me up and said, would you find time to come talk? I think it had to do with intervention courts, if I recall right. And when can you make time? I said, I can right now. I'll walk across the street. We met within minutes of that, me and her and Jason met. And Bryce knows the same thing. Of course, you and I have been knowing each other well. You know you got access to me.
Yeah.
But I was surprised to learn of that. An attempt to do a bill, never talked to the courts about it. But it reminds me of another thing. A year or 2 ago, the Senate bill passed to put electronic courts into justice courts. Well, it's a great idea. There was no money to do it with, and we hadn't finished in the Chancery Circuit Court. And so I asked that particular senator, would you drop that? I'll support it. Once we have the money, once I get the pins to increase the size of NBC. So, but there's things, again, that was the decision that was made. It wasn't enforced at that time. The decision was made to discontinue. I'm not blaming the past people. I'm just telling you, it's not just the opinion of the people that Presley said in the seats that issued that money.
Yeah, I just sort of, I wasn't aware of it. Representative Clark showed me a letter. The letter had no explanation, so it was deadline time, so she wanted to introduce a bill. So, but my question is just simply, you're saying the misdemeanor intervention courts don't work?
There's a lot of material out there by people who use national studies and all that. The time period is short, and the ability to enforce and the amount of money that gets spent. Y'all decide how much money gets spent. You want to increase my budget. now, so we can train people. But I really don't think it would work by virtue of the fact that they don't have legal authority to hold continuous power over people's lives. And so I always look, and I mentioned to Chairman Cochran, she and I chatted about it. I will support anything you all do as long as it's constitutional. Okay?
So you're saying misdemeanor courts are not constitutional? I mean, I'm like you. I don't want to waste any time on the bill if you're saying it doesn't work. But you have it on your list of courts that work.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work?
More importantly, according to studies, it doesn't work.
Okay, thank you.
I believe we have further questions. The gentleman from Tallahatchie, Representative Reynolds, is recognized.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Gentlemen, now we passed a few years ago the 585, to deal with the prison population, and now I think, and for a while, the prison population went down. Now it's rising at a regular clip. If we were to go into the felony veterans courts and mental health courts to the same level that we do drug courts, do you think that might have a beneficial effect on our rate of incarceration now?
It might favorably affect it, but we really, right now, you mentioned veterans and which other courts?
Well, I say mental health.
Okay, mental health has had a pilot program. We are hopeful. I think we got 5 or 6 pilot programs started. That will alleviate 2 problems that the legislature had to deal with. That's just mental health generally, and also help those individuals. Mental health is most, you're talking to sheriffs and the people that deal with picking these people up off the streets. A good number of mental health problems is caused by people who do not take their medications. And but this accountability factor of having to come to a court twice a week, or weekly, I should say, having to come to court and say, yes, I've been taking my meds and everything, we're hopeful that it'll have great improvement on the mental health aspect. On the Veterans Court, we are pressing continually to enlarge that. I have a personal feeling for that since I've had a DD 214 from the Army and the Navy. So I'm twice veteran, but a lot of it depends on how efficient the judge is. We lost a great one, Bryce Smith down in Jackson County. Bob Krebs, who was doing a wonderful job working with veterans even before we had veterans courts. But we are strongly encouraging it, and I do think it'll help somewhat. And of course, Burl is doing a wonderful job with corrections. But and I think as you all are working on this balance about how long you sentence people and all that's going to have a lot to do with that type of thing.
Justice, we've got a requirement in certain drug courts and others for GED. Sometimes they encourage them and sometimes they can't move up a step if they can't do a GED or have difficulty. Justice, I believe you're aware that, we've got, our family came to me and the guy had a 6th grade education. No way he could pass a GED, but he's been drug-free for 5 years now, and trying to move up a step. And so in certain instances where, people cannot pass a GED as far as moving up drug court, sometimes there needs to be some give and take on that. And I think there is in most places.
Well, I'm glad you brought that to my attention since my father had a 3rd grade education.
Well,
And I didn't know that, but that's getting back with this interaction. But my phone number, I'll tell you, you can write it down right now. My cell phone number, 601-310-2662. I commute every day to Magsburg. I'm on my car about 4 hours a day. I take calls all day long. And I know Chairman Cochran, him and I spoke as late as last night. Really, if something like that popped up, help me out, bring it to my attention. I agree with you that should not just be like, you can't accomplish this, because sometimes there's things people can't accomplish, and that should not be stop them from moving forward.
Justice, he can do things with heating and air that none of us lawyers would even think about. We couldn't even turn it on.
No question about it. No question about that. We'll do it. Thank you.
Are there any further questions? Chairman Wiggins is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Chief. I just wanted to ask, sometimes, or there still seems to be a stigma around hiring drug court folks. And I know certainly in Jackson County, the requirement is they have to have a job. And I think it's getting more businesses willing to hire graduates. What is your take on that, and do you see how we could accomplish that?
Well, I'm going to, first, all of us need to talk in our own communities and talk to people that, hire people that, it doesn't make any difference if they're in drug court, working in McDonald's or whatever. They had already asked to meet with BIPEC. And I asked to meet with them so I could address 30 people and say, you all need to go back to your communities and you need to work, create opportunities. And the big selling point is, if I was an employer, then I'm going to get somebody for 4 years that's going to be drug-free or go to jail, and they're paying for their own test instead of me having to test them. What a deal. And if you get somebody in the system for 4 years, let's take home energy Eagles. If you get somebody and they go to welding school, so now he's been a welder, he's learned a trade, and now he is drug-free for 4 years with new people getting health benefits, raising their kids, paying taxes. After 4 years of a life like that, there's a real good chance they're going to continue, and you're going to have a lifetime employee. I mean, it's just, so I set my target to get out and speak about it, but I do encourage each of you to do the same when you speak to hometown Kiwanis and people Rotary, whatever it is. Remind them about there's a job pool out there. I mean, we've got 8,000 graduates. Let's not get a new big business in this state. 8,000 people paying taxes is amazing. And but no, we're going to continue pushing it, and that's a very good point. But all of us collectively have to work together to increase the understanding and how much supervision those people are under. Because there's people go out and check the nice spots and see if they're out there hanging around the honky-tonks or the drug dens or whatever. And if they are, they get called in. If they get in trouble, they're going to have to watch them. So there's a policing effect that goes along with this as well. Is it perfect? No, some folks can't make it happen. But we're not going to have any more folks that can't make it happen because of failure of the GED.
Just a comment, I certainly appreciate you bringing up the Ingalls, and they know this because they've told me that they're hiring 5,000 people, and almost half they have to reject because they can't pass the drug test. And when you're welding and when you're machinery and all that, and so it's an economic thing and a job thing, but that's a real issue, and so your point is very well taken.
Well, I'm hopeful that, just like these fulfillment centers. Amazon would get these 1,500 employees here or there. That's a perfect place for a person to work. And so we all got to do a better job of letting them know about that available job pool that is a drug-free job pool that's out there.
Senator Boyd.
Senator Boyd is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chief Justice, can you tell us a little bit more? We have a lot of constituents that are requesting more mental health courts. Can you talk to us about how many we have right now, what you've seen as the success or failures of those mental health courts, and what we need to do or improve or go in that direction?
Well, we're, like I say, we got the pilots going, so we're going to identify the strong points. The plan of the court, as long as the money's available, will be to expand drug courts significantly. But it's really getting in the trenches and seeing how it works, because it's relatively new to us. But I can tell you, from the court standpoint, we're all in. We want to see it succeed, and will be expanded. We're just trying to get a picture of how can we expand, just sort of like we did drug intervention. See what works, you see what fails, and you make your adjustments, and then you keep the expansion. And that's what we're doing with Veterans Court. Unquestionably, we are committed to expanding the utilization, and we've tried to identify initially some of the judges that reached out to us and say, we want to get involved. So we need those names of people that want it. Because I don't care what business you're in, what you're doing. If you're hard in it, you're not going to do as well. And so we've had people reach out to us and say, this is something we're interested in. And or this is something that we've worked on. And so that was part of the concept of the Bible, to make sure that we had somebody committed to the concept. Because keep in mind, intervention court seems sort of old hat to many of us, but it's still a relatively new concept. I know many judges, you remember, we refused to do a drug test. They absolutely just wouldn't. They just thought that was wrong. And so it's taken a period of time for that to reach the success level it had. And now everybody says, look, my guy in Jackson County just got 2 new circuit judges. I called them up and I said, y'all want me acting in drug courts? They said, we can't wait. And so that's the kind of attitude.
Which, to your point, I'm sorry, but Judge Harkey, who just retired, who's former DA, was his position. He took on, no offense, but he called it hug-a-thug, and then he took it on and he realized that and became one of the biggest supporters of drug court.
And always defend the term he just used, hug-a-thug. It is not. It's not embracing criminals. What it is giving those people an opportunity to succeed in a drug-free life. And those two concepts get confused sometimes, because you're going to get it from members around here that'll say, well, that's just hug-a-thug, you're being kind of criminal. No, it's not kind to be checked out every night and have your life under that scope. Go ahead.
How many pilots own the mental health courts do we have right now?
We opened up with, actually it's 5.5 is the number right now.
And have we been able in those pilots to find enough mental health professionals to work in that system?
You get down in the weeds a little bit with me since it's new, but I'll have Director Holmes, can you answer that question, or do y'all will get together? I'd rather that you answer now. Come up here.
Good morning. Thank you for the question.
This is Director Pam Holmes, intervention.
Thank you. If I may correct the chief, which I should not do, but we have 5 active mental health treatment courts. The funding was received, the additional funding that was appropriated in fiscal '23 enabled us to be able to open these courts. So since July 1st, we have an individual on staff who has 30 years mental health treatment experience. He's worked with Region 8, DMH. So we have been putting in place we've met with the 5 different courts, but they're pulling from, so we're active as of, 6 months. We're looking at individuals who are currently in drug courts who have a co-occurring disorder, which makes them eligible for a mental health treatment court. There are a number of areas that a mental health court differs from a drug court. So our model that we're looking to leverage or work upon is a mental health treatment court where the judge may or may not have drug court experience, but they have the passion. And the requirement would be the coordinator would have a master's degree in behavioral science. So there would be that built-in knowledge of treatment requirements, treatment needs. We've met with Wendy Bailey and Jake from DMH. We've met with the different regions, Region 8, get my regions and districts mixed up, but Region 12. DMH is in full support. We know there's a lot of work that needs to be done shoring up the service offerings by these regional mental health clinics. So that's part of our outreach. And we're looking really to provide, let me just also add, like veterans courts, in order to qualify or be eligible for a mental health treatment court, you have to commit a non-violent felony. So by no means will our mental health courts be overflowing with the individuals you may pass on your way to work, or the individuals in your community that are seen on a regular basis. These are extension of circuit court or party circuit courts, so they have that requirement to even be considered for a mental health treatment court. So sadly, we're not addressing the entire population in the state that requires mental health treatment, but we are working on wraparound services from screening and assessment. We have one judge who is looking at those individuals who are sitting in jails now, who may have been here in jail for 2 weeks to 6 months, who have a co-occurring disorder where mental health trauma is at the base of their reason for committing that crime. So as the chief said, we're encouraging individuals in mental health courts to take their medication and their trauma and deal with their trauma. And that's the role that the funding has provided for us, is to be able to work with the different regions in the state.
So does an individual have to be able to be given to a mental health court? Do they have to already have a formal diagnosis of a mental health condition, or are there things being put in place that you're recognizing possibly that they do have a mental health condition? How does that work?
Okay, an individual who is picked up, initially they will have a screening. It's an 8-question screening, and there's a criminogenics piece to that. And then there's a 30-some question assessment, and that is a national mental health treatment court assessment that is required. Their behavior when they're incarcerated may tip somebody off. DA may recognize it, the sheriff, any individual. So we may not be, I say we, meaning the courts, may not be aware that they have a diagnosis, but we will, and part of the requirements of the mental health treatment bill that is, or statute is, we track information in our case management system of requirements by the legislature that allows us to track some of the things. Were they diagnosed properly from a treatment standpoint initially upon intake? And then how long from acceptance into treatment, how long did it take them to go to treatment? Were they successful in treatment? Did they stay? Did they leave? So there's a number of factors that we're able to track. So they could come with an existing, chances are they probably do have an existing trauma-related mental health issue.
Thank you.
Senator McCon is recognized for a question.
And I'm not quite done with that line of question. If you want, just a few more to follow up on that, if you don't mind. Thank you, Madam Chair.
If you don't mind, Senator McCon, the acoustics is a little off. I'm having a hard time hearing you, so if you don't mind, if you could speak into your mic.
All right, thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. So we've got 23 circuit court districts in our state. What are you expecting as far as filling those spots? You said a master's degree in a mental health related field. Is that what you're looking for as a coordinator?
For those new courts, that would be ultimately taking on a mental health treatment court. We have 4 courts now that are drug courts that have 2 or 3 individuals who are in the drug court program who are moving over to the mental health court. Those individuals, the staff, are existing drug court judges and existing drug court coordinators. So the requirement of hiring an individual to a new coordinator staff, we're not sure if that is 20 participants, 30 participants. So we're not looking to put an individual, to hire an outside individual with those qualifications right away. It may be 5 or 10 participants that would then warrant having somebody.
Last quick question. Can you tell me the districts right now where you've got these 4 at, or these 4 or 5 current pilot programs? Can you tell me where they're at so that we can kind of know where they're scattered across the state?
Certainly. That's the First Circuit, Northeast Mississippi. 4th Circuit, which is Greenville area, Washington County. Hinds County. And Hinds is that mental health treatment court model that I spoke of, that they have a different judge, Judge Faye Peterson, who is not a drug court judge, and they've just hired a mental health treatment professional as a coordinator, and also their case manager is a mental health court professional. The 6th Circuit, Adams County, and the other 3 counties, and that's Judge Deborah Blackwell, and I believe Judge Carmen Davis is going to be, Drake, excuse me, is going to be aiding in that. And then Judge Mike Taylor in the 14th Circuit, and that's going to be Pike County only.
Thank you. It's just, mental health crisis is going on. It continues to be a problem. I just wanted to know where we're headed with this and what we can do. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Oh, you're welcome. Are there any additional questions? We do. You're recognized, Representative Tullis. The gentleman from Smith. There's probably another mic down there if that was
I've got one, and this is for the Chief Justice, and I'll be very quick. And this goes back to what the gentleman from Newton was talking about as far as mental health. And the drug court intervention program, I spoke at a graduation 2 weeks ago, and I think it's a great program. It does a lot for our communities. But getting back to the mental health issue, we have a lot of commitments dealing with drug and alcohol where no crime was committed. And they either send them, wait for a bed to become available at Whitfield or East Mississippi. They go up there for a week, then they're released saying, well, there's nothing else we can do for them in a week. As far as alcohol and drug is nothing, kind of like the municipal court system or the small claims court, where it's a long-term program. And my question, I guess, deals with the constitutionality of whenever a commitment is, a petition for commitment is made in the Chancery Court, and there's an obvious drug or alcohol issue with this individual, what would the ramifications be as far as from a constitutional standpoint of the chancellor transferring that individual to long-term drug court treatment before they've even committed a crime? Presently, I don't think there's a provision that would deal exactly with what you just said. But I'll give it a lot of thought. I understand what you're saying, these are the tweeners.
That's correct.
We have to figure out how to deal with the tweeners, and I don't have an answer as I stand before you for that. I'll be less than honest.
Yes, sir.
Solve that so quickly, but I think all of us have got to get our heads together and try to figure it out.
Yes, sir.
But if the court system get involved in, if you're saying where a petition has been filed,
A petition for commitment to an individual who is an addict, is abusing drugs. They're not taking care of their children. A family member comes in, files a petition for commitment as far as drug or alcohol. They go for a week and then they're released. And to me, it would seem like if there was some way those individuals who haven't committed a crime, they just have an issue with addiction. If there was some way, because there's no long-term, I don't know of any long-term treatment available by the state in the for drug or alcohol.
and certainly the court can't create one.
Right.
Get to the bottom line, why are drug courts successful? It's because of the hammer.
That's
Yes, it's the hammer that you can either stay with your family and go to work every day, or you can go to Parchment. And there's not a hammer for the
oh yes, sir.
speak of. And that's when I gotta give a lot more thought. What is it that we can do to encourage people to do right, but at the same time, courts cannot tell people what to do.
Oh.
It's just that problem. But there's got to be something.
Yes, sir.
There's got to be something. And I'll work with the mental health people, Pam will. We can figure out how to deal with those 20, because they do need help, no question about it. But I don't know how many people in this state are addicts.
Yes, sir.
More than any of us would like to think about. And so it's not an easy problem.
Yes, sir.
But I'll work with it, that's all.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
The gentleman from DeSoto, Representative Eubanks, is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Judge, I appreciate you being here. A quick question. You may have covered this. I'm sorry, I was a little late from another meeting, but is there any kind of cooperation between the court system and some of the other groups, faith-based groups, stuff like AA and Celebrate Recovery, and any kind of interaction to where you can try to get them to one of those programs in addition to the drug testing and all the other accountability?
I know from the last one, they spoke there down in Jones County, I know there's a big crossover into faith-based groups. I think it's important. If anyone, some of y'all say you spoke at these, some of y'all attended them. It's like going to revival. Really, I mean, you're talking about people getting up and rather than saying, I saved my soul, they're saying, I saved my life. I saved my kid's life, and that's the difference. But they are most appreciative of the fact of the intervention. But yes, there's a lot of connectivity between those.
I just didn't know if there was any specific communication from the drug courts with groups like that in the area that as another additional networks.
I see staff over here telling me yes.
Awesome. Okay, thank you.
Representative Reynolds, the gentleman from Tallahatchie, is recognized for a question.
Gentlemen, Mr. Justice, I've heard the figure tossed around, 15% of those incarcerated have severe mental health problems. Would you agree that there is a significant number? I don't know about the exact figure, but that
I don't know the exact number either. I know somebody said they did. The issue that we deal with from the court system is competence.
right.
Is a person competent to be tried? And if a judge or any lawyer thinks otherwise, they get looked at. That doesn't mean, there's a lot of people holding normal jobs, probably some that work over my building, some in this building, that have mental health issues.
Probably most of us, but go ahead.
On a lower level, but they are able to work through it. But I wouldn't hazard a guess as to percentages. Is there some people over there like them?
And now, as far as the cost of the mental health court, if we were to implement it statewide, I believe the total figure that was expended this year for the mental health courts was,
Do we have a number of what it costs for each court? I know in the Prince County Court it was 250,000, some of the pilot programs were like 50, so it's going to be between that 50 and 250 range per circuit.
and if we were to prevent a $30,000 cost of an inmate a year and really save a life and a family, that'd be a pretty good investment around the state, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. Correct.
Are there any further questions from members of the Joint Committee? Seeing none, Mr. Chief Justice, we want to say thank you again for coming to make your presentation to the Joint Committee. I think the last time you came and talked about intervention courts would have been in 2020. And so when you presented this morning and I started looking at your figures, it's very, very impressive. And I guess even more than that, just knowing the lives that we're touching throughout the state and listening to the testimonial from the drug court. As you said, you could tell that she was really talking from the heart. And Commissioner Bailey made a presentation to Appropriations last Thursday about the state of mental health in Mississippi and talked about the great mental health need that we have here. So I'm grateful that we do have our mental health courts here. And looking at the figure that you talked about just for the incarceration for one individual is staggering. And if we can have this kind of profound impact on people's lives here in the state of Mississippi, I think that that's to be commendable. And I know that our courts have also, throughout the state, been used as a model. And so I think that's a testament to you and the work that you're doing. And also, it also is a testament to the men and women who are in this room who are sitting around this table in both chambers. So thank you. And I'm going to recognize Chairman Wiggins for closing remarks as well.
Thank you. I just wanted to point out on your form here, the recidivism rate of drug courts is 2.9% compared to corrections 35%, which, by the way, that number's correct. As the commissioner testified to us around, it was about that 37%. So you want to talk about, I just wanted to highlight that. So that's all I had.
Well, with no further business before the Joint Committee, we're going to entertain a committee to rise and report. Is there such a motion? So moved. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
With that, consider the Joint Committee dissolved. Thank you so much for attending this morning.
Thank you, Jennifer, for being here. You must have had to get up early. As the bills come in, we'll get together. Yeah, I actually called, but as I got
Your former colleague, I know, like, you know, he has Alzheimer's.
no.